Welcome back, friends, to a brand new episode of the 𝗕𝗏𝗦𝗏 podcast. We are back with my long-term mentor and great friend, BEDROS KEUILIAN. You all know who he is, best-selling author of Man Up, and an individual who I've personally hired for his last year of private coaching. And BEDROS, for those who don't know, gave me some very interesting marching orders back in early January when we began our 12-month mission of building new companies through his replication secrets, which I hope we get into today as well. And interestingly, we didn't talk about tactics or funnels or ads, as we have, way in the past when I worked with BEDROS in two other capacities, two other coaching programs. I told him that I had a gut. I was developing man boobs for the first time in my life at the age of 42. And I started making excuses and was complaining about all the pressures and responsibilities of being a father and being a business owner. And BEDROS, do you remember the very first thing that you told me that we needed to do when I told you about the gut?
Well, I think we talked about it. If I remember correctly, we talked about getting you back into your fight shape.
Yeah. And the way you said is we need to fix this.
We need to fix this. Yeah, because it is a broken piece of success. Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about that for a moment, Vinny. And, oftentimes people will come to me when they sign up for my $100,000 coaching program, like you just did again. And like, hey, man, I'm having a sales and marketing problem. I'm like, cool. I'm going to teach you how to create a better offer, create a better funnel, and sell more of the leads that come through at a higher dollar amount. Would that fix your problems? They go, yes, it would. I go, fantastic. I go, what kind of business in terms of dollar amounts do you want to own? Right now, you're doing $5 million a year. What do you want to own? Well, I'd like this to be a $20 million business. Cool. I go, hey, before I teach you the funnels and the copy and the offer and how we're going to tweak your sales presentation and really build your authority so that you can command more dollars than your competitors, can I ask you, what does a $20 million CEO look like? They go, and they always go, what do you mean? They get stumped. I go, physically, describe this human, male or female. What do they look like? Oh, well, they probably walk with confidence. They're in great shape. They have great energy when they walk into the room, I go, okay, well, you're sitting across from me. I see a gut. Do they have a gut like yours? No. Are the shoulders slumped over like yours? No. Are they drinking a big, giant monster energy drink like you are right now? No, probably not. So if you're not doing the things that a $20 million CEO would be doing, how do you expect to get there? Most people think that once I get to $20 million, then I'll do the $20 million CEO shit. It's actually the other way around. You have to do, when you're making $0, you have to live the life of a 20 or a 50 or $100 million CEO so that you can get there. And the easiest way to say this is by saying 6s and 7s cannot build a lifestyle and a legacy that is 8 and 9s. In other words, if someone is stuck at a level 6 personal development, level 7 mental discipline, level 6 limiting beliefs, they can't get to a 8 or a 9 or a 10 financial success, relational happiness, etc. So you have to be able to break through. When I look at the literally hundreds of coaching clients that I've had, great entrepreneurs like yourself, the difference between those who did great and those who did good was the ones who did great first worked on the limiting beliefs, which is called upper limiting, a glass ceiling. They were able to break through the glass ceilings that existed. All of a sudden, the same funnel. In fact, I had two guys, both of them had a solar company. They installed solar panels on homes that were homes that were $1 million or more in value, so high-end homes. One of them was ahead of schedule on his financial goals. The other one was dragging along. I gave both of these guys the same level of coaching. Now, they're in two different states, so they were non-competitive, so I was able to take both of them on as coaching clients. One looked like a human pear. He was shaped like a human pear. The other one was shaped like a cucumber, but eventually got lean and jacked. He actually took my advice. His funnels, the guy who got lean and jacked, his funnels worked better. When he got rejected, he bounced back from rejection faster, because what I told him was what I told the other guy, which was, if you want to get your solar panels on more rooftops, you have to find out who's already got access to those homes. They both go, aha, air conditioning people and roofers. All right, let's go to every air conditioning company and every roofer in your area and say this script. Guess what? The guy who was shaped like a pear, had low self-esteem, low self-worth, and had these limiting beliefs. The first time he got rejected or ghosted, he came back to me and goes, the script doesn't work. What do I do? The guy who took care of his health and fitness and cut out the caffeine and the stimulants and had a regular sleeping schedule and woke up early to dominate his day, that guy's like, hey man, after about 10 times of getting rejected, I figured out how to tweak that script to make it work. So the difference, same funnel, same business, two different states. The only difference was the individual. One decided to become a 7, 8, 9 leader. The other one stayed at a 5 and a 6, but expected 7, 8, 9 results. And that never happens.
Right. So you've now just connected the dots for those individuals thinking they need to come for the latest magic wand. If magic wands work, guys, that's what we'd be selling. And I was always wondering, why is BEDROS selling this personal development thing so hard at these higher levels? And one of the reasons I came to you, BEDROS, was to learn your, replication secrets and how you've gained equity in so many amazing companies, and you're launching so many new franchises at a rapid rate, in my mind. And you started to share that you're able to attract high-level leaders, but you can't attract high-level leaders if you're operating at such a lower level.
That's exactly it.
And maybe, a lot of people don't think about expanding revenue, beyond just like, you can only buy so many paid ads. Like at some point you need to start thinking beyond just buying traffic. There's other ways to expand. And I think we get stuck in that limited thinking. So the value of leadership in expanding more companies and expanding into new verticals.
Yeah, it's so cool that you say that, because guess what? When my book came out, Man Up, September of 2018, the first thing that ran through my head is, okay, I've got a social media fan page. I had just started a year earlier my Instagram. So I had like 5,000 Instagram followers, nothing major. And then I had an email list of about 50,000 entrepreneurs. But I was like, there's no way this book's going to become a bestseller this way. So I'm going to have to buy traffic, because I instantly went to the entrepreneur in me, was like, and buy traffic. So I'm going to mail out, I'm going to put it all over my social media. But really, if I want this thing to become a bestseller, then I have to buy traffic. Now, you and I both know, and everybody watching and listening to this knows, that when you buy traffic, you are putting an offer in front of a cold traffic, people who don't know you, they don't like you, they don't trust you. They immediately look at you as suspect. You are not a welcomed guest. You are a pest in their social media experience. They're trying to find hot chicks in bikinis, or they're trying to find the latest cat video, or they want to see Aunt Millie's new thing that she's doing on the other side of the country. And your ad and my ad disrupt their experience. So I was like, listen, I'm going to have to spend an obscene amount of money to sell a $19 book that my publisher makes most of the money from. So this isn't going to work. Then I got to thinking, I'm like, all right, the old me is afraid to go ask for leads from people who already have them. So I'm trying to buy traffic. And this is why this old way doesn't work. Buying traffic is just one pole in the water. Email marketing is one pole in the water. Your social media, my social media, is one pole in the water. Then I go, who has my future book buyers already? I'm like, oh my God, Ed Mylett, Andy Frisella, Lewis House, Sean Stevenson, Tom Bilyeu. And I wrote on this marker board right over here, on that marker board, right wherever that, right there.
I see it.
Yeah. I wrote 16 names. And I wrote 16 names, all those names that I mentioned off. And I spent the next 9 months before my book came out building a relationship with them. The only person I knew personally was Lewis House on that list. The other 15 names I'd never met. And I started building a relationship. And if that meant buying 250 copies of Andy Frisella's book, which I did, his book, Otis and Charlie Play to Win. And I donated those, he wrote a kid's book, and I donated those books to my kid's school. But before I did, I took a picture of those books stacked up in front of me. And I just kind of stood there and took a picture with the Fit Body Bootcamp sign behind me. And then I posted it on Instagram, and I tagged Andy, and I said, so grateful that Andy wrote this book. I bought 250 copies of this book, donated to my kids' school, because we're going to make some badass savages out of these kids in Chino Hills, and left it at that. Within like 8 minutes, Andy was in my DMs going, bro, thank you so much for doing that. Who are you? You're an awesome cat. Can I have you on my podcast? And I was like, not yet. How about right around September when my book comes out? So then it started building a rapport and relationship. Same with 𝗕𝗨𝗦𝗬𝗓, same with 𝗕𝗨𝗦𝗬𝗓, etc. Before you know it, I was getting promoted by the biggest names when my book came out, and it's no wonder it became a bestseller like that within the first 6 weeks. And I share this with you because when you have done the self-development, see, BEDROS 1.0 would never have gone to those 16 guys because of fear of rejection, fear of asking for something. I'm not worth it. They would never want to be friends with me. And for your audience who may not know my story, I'm an immigrant to the United States. So English is a second language to me. I had to fight to lose my accent. When I lived in Armenia, in communist Soviet Union, I was molested by 2 older boys over and over again. And so I have a lot of traumatic situations in my head that made me feel broken and shameful and unlovable and unworthy. Never shared that with anyone for 30 some odd years until I sought out therapy several years ago. When we came to the United States, I lived in Section 8 housing where we ate out of dumpsters, and sadly I got lice, and my mom and dad couldn't even afford to buy lice treatment from the store. So my mom had my dad siphon out gasoline from a parked car, and she washed my hair with gasoline. Like, that's how broke we were. And imagine how you get bullied when you're living in Section 8 housing. I share this with you, Vince, and your audience, because that BEDROS would never have gone out to find the guys who had my future customers and said, hey, let's make friends, and then later ask them, can you promote my book? BEDROS 2.0, who did the self-work, broke through his limiting beliefs, felt lovable, knows that I have something to bring to the table. I have a seat at the table, and I deserve success and abundance and happiness because I am a blessed human being, and I can bring value to those guys as they bring value to me. That BEDROS has the balls and the intestinal fortitude to go to every single one of them, build a relationship, and with confidence say, hey, would you promote my book on September 18th when it comes out? And they all said yes, with the exception of Gary Vaynerchuk. I should be honest, with the exception of Gary Vaynerchuk. And I love Gary to pieces. We've shared the stage together. He said no because of the title Man Up and living in New York, and his second in command was a strong feminist, and so Man Up. Yeah, it's a funny story, but
you told it at the Empire Mastermind.
Yeah. Long story short, with the exception of Gary, everybody promoted it, but Gary wished me good luck on it. And dude, what a difference! So the same process that I would have thought of, I would have never used as the first version of me, but once I developed into the higher level version of me, that process I had the balls and the guts to use and execute and not self-sabotage, which is what people do when they are given funnels that are magic wands. Why did it work for all of Vinny's other students, but not me? Must be broken. No, you must have broken it because you self-sabotage because you don't feel deserving and worthy and you don't have the work ethic behind it. And so when you take a great process or funnel and you wrap it up with self-development and you break through limiting beliefs, that is when you are able to hire a great team and scale an empire and not just make some money.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what you've been teaching me to do. I've been learning through my therapist, which you told me keep getting the therapy as well, that I have always chosen isolation instead of connection, which has scared me away from connecting with individuals like, yourself and the names you just mentioned, because I compare myself from one area of life, just my, say, financial status versus someone else's financial status. And when you don't have that self-confidence in what else you're bringing to the table, I'm a family man. I'm a man of faith. I've got more to offer than just my financial experience. You don't feel like you're worthy. So improving those areas of your life where you can, as you say, earn a seat at the table, and you know that you're a man of integrity and that that's what your value is staked in, people will identify, hey, this guy is somebody I can trust because he, respects himself. He keeps his word. All of a sudden, these new opportunities start coming out of nowhere.
That's exactly right. And it's funny. People go, man, all of a sudden opportunities and abundance show up. Listen, it is no secret. The universe will work with you and not against you once you begin to get rid of your emotional constipation. And that's what it really is. Think about it. When you are physically constipated, like when you have to poop and you can't, right? Like things are trying to move through you and you can't, it hurts. It's a painful thing. There's discomfort. You're sweating. What do I do? Well, there's emotional and mental constipation as well. The universe wants to help you It wants to see you win and succeed, but you must first fix your emotional constipation. And most people go, well, I wasn't raped and molested and beaten. And listen, if you've made it to your late 20s and 30s and 40s, you have dealt with some kind of trauma, even if it's just a bad relationship with money that mom and dad might have passed along to you unknowingly, even if it's just some limiting beliefs, even if it's like my parents said, oh, you've always been chunky, you're always going to be chunky. So I grew up eating and reinforcing the belief that I'm always going to be a fat kid. So I was like, well, at least I could be a strong fat kid. So I started working out, but never really wanted to attempt to lean out, because what's the point? Everyone in my family's fat. That's the narrative they wrote. That doesn't mean that's who I am. I might have the fat genetics, but I intentionally pulled the trigger on that gun because they had conditioned me to. When I made the conscious decision to set rules and boundaries for myself where food and eating is concerned, and I didn't use it as emotional medicine like I used to, I got lean, and you could all of a sudden see like veins in my muscles. Whoa, that's strange. I thought I was a fat kid. No, it was just a limiting belief that I had to fix.
That's incredible. So what would you say to somebody? There's two things showing up. I'd love for you to just address them when people are thinking about coming to an event. I'm a product of events. I'm a product of being around powerful people. My belief expands. I just start to see how small I was thinking, how small I was playing, and how many limitations I was holding on to. I hear people say, I don't know if I want to come to the event because, they look at literally what it's going to cost them and not cause them. And my gosh, the cost of inaction, right? Those one right ideas, as you say, those one right or two connections. How do you reassure someone like the room is where you need to be? Like, sure, I can give you a portal, I can give you a Facebook community, but it's people still have this resistance. And what would you offer somebody who has resistance and isn't seeing the value because they haven't been in a room of people that are going to mentally push them?
It's funny because we're talking to a group of coaches, right? Like that's your audience who we're talking to. We're talking to a group of coaches. And I could argue to these coaches, every single one of you right now, that, I can go to YouTube. Every one of your clients, the people that you want to work with, you can go to YouTube and for free, they can get nutrition coaching, nutrition information for free. They can get workouts they could do at home or in a gym, hypertrophy, compound training, you name it, whatever it is, they could find on YouTube for free. But why is it that they don't? And why is it that they don't get the results when it's free and when it's accessible via a screen like this? Because there's something very powerful about coaching, support, and accountability. Number one, that's what a live event provides. There's a sense of accountability because you meet people that you are held accountable to because you build friendships. And that leads to point number two, which is proximity is power. Proximity to powerful people is powerful onto you. If I am around successful people and I shake hands with them and break bread with them and meet them for 2 days, there's an energy transfer, Vince, that takes place that I could not get by watching a Tony Robbins video. If I am around Tony Robbins in person, there's a energy transfer, there's a knowledge transfer, and there's a level of inspiration and motivation and accountability. Even if I don't hire Tony personally as a coach, I will break through to a higher level in person that I will never get to by watching some of his videos. And so when people go, well, look what it's going to cost me, time, it's going to cost me money and travel and hotel. And then I have to stop them and remind them, what is it going to cost you if you don't go? Like when guys tell me, man, I want to do the project, but the cost of $15,000 for 75-hour experience at the project, that's a lot of money. I go, what is it going to cost you if you don't do it? Another year or 2 or 3 of a bad relationship that's headed towards divorce? Another year, 2 or 3 until your kids turn 18 and now you feel like you just have this distant relationship with your kids? Another several years of poor income and feeling like you have some sense of purpose, but you never really stepped into living that purpose? What is it going to cost you to not do it? And so people need to not weigh out the financial cost. They need to weigh out the financial, mental, emotional, relational cost of not doing this. And when they do that, they see that there's millions that they stand to lose. That's
amazing. So true. And finally, let's just chat about the value of doing hard things. I know you've partnered with 𝗕𝗨𝗦𝗡, amazing clothing brand. I love the message. We had them on our podcast recently. They'll be in Nashville as well. And we actually created a shirt together already. I don't know if I sent it to you, but it's sick. It's really awesome.
I'd love to see it, man.
I'll text it to you. And the whole theme of this event is to have a breakthrough.
Yeah.
And we all know this, like what you were just saying, like in the gym, what's on the other side of a plateau? A breakthrough.
Breakthrough.
Yeah, you hear about guys complaining, gals complaining, I'm working so hard. I'm putting so much effort and I'm not seeing the payoff. And I just, I don't know if it's because of society these days, the quick fix society we live in, but you would never, accept that kind of rationale in any other area of your life. But for some reason, we expect business to just explode. And how do you help people manage their emotions during this pursuit of building a business?
Sure.
Reassure them, like, you're on the right track, but people just tap out so freaking easy. They hit one roadblock and they throw in the white towel.
Yeah. Yeah. The first thing I always tell a brand new coaching client, which is why I didn't tell you this, because I probably told you this several years ago when we first started working together, is that most people overestimate what they can achieve in 1 year, and they underestimate what they will achieve in 5 years. See, it's like that Chinese bamboo plant, that Chinese bamboo tree, where you plant it, and for like 3 years, you're nurturing the soil, you're tilling it, you're watering it, and nothing's coming out. And you begin to believe that this was a dud of a seed, when in reality, 2 feet underneath that soil, that bamboo plant is doing what it's supposed to do. And in the next 30 days, it will grow 15 feet in 30 days, dude. But it takes 3 years for that to happen. And so oftentimes we overestimate what we can achieve in 1 year, and we underestimate what would happen in 5 years. But for us to stay in the fight for 5 years, we must build mental and emotional resilience, which goes back to our first conversation. The best marketing funnel and the best ad and the best sales script is not enough for someone who's mentally weak as an entrepreneur. I hate to say this, I hate to offend you, but here I am, folks, I'm about to offend you. If I gave you Mike Tyson's gloves and Mike Tyson's mouth guard and Mike Tyson's coach and put you in a ring at Madison Square Garden and gave you 1 day of great training with Mike Tyson's sparring partner, and then put you up against someone at his level, they will squash you. The best gloves, the best coach, the best mouth guard, the best ring, and the best arena is not going to do it. It's the years of training. Mike Tyson has the years of training where he could just put cardboard boxes, like literally Kleenex boxes, on his fists and go into a ring and flatten someone because of the years of experience. He has the mental and emotional toughness that needs to kick in when the body breaks down. And so if people are not doing hard things in their life, if people are not doing things that put them out of their comfort zone, for example, when I trained for and ran a marathon in 6 weeks, had never run before, not even a mile, because I'm like, God's built me to lift weights. I'm 230 pounds of awesomeness. I am not designed to run, Vinny. And that is the narrative I told myself for a decade. And then one day I go, you know what? I'm such an imposter. I tell everybody you can achieve whatever you want, yet I'm afraid of running. And my wife at the time was a marathon runner. And so she's like, dude, are you ever going to run with me? I'm like, yes, next year. Yes, next year. So finally, I trained for 6 weeks, gave myself a 6-week deadline, and I did it. And I did it. Then I go, what else can I do? I've never surfed, yet I live in Southern California. 6 weeks of training with the coach, and I became a pretty decent surfer, man. I'm pretty damn good. Then jiu-jitsu. So 6 weeks of training, 3 times a week for 6 weeks. Then he put me in a ring or on a mat with a brown belt. Listen, man, I didn't submit the guy, but I was able to hold myself really well after just 6 weeks of training. And I share this with you because the jiu-jitsu and the running and the surfing and the rock climbing, I did all these different challenges, Vinny, that were all physical, bled into my relationship. I became a better husband, a better father, a better entrepreneur, more mentally tough, emotionally resilient. When ads and offers and copies didn't work, when some of my best employees decided to quit, I held my shit together and was able to move forward like a leader instead of panic like a little bitch. And so I share this with everybody here because sometimes we think we just need the best systems and processes when we really need a checkup from the neck up.
Give me a rapid fire line or just thought around, you're hanging out with some really successful dudes. How do you manage comparison syndrome?
It's simple. I don't go comparing myself to the Navy SEAL who works for me, Ray Care, right? He can go into a room, identify the bad guy, shoot him in the face, and only spare the good guys. I can't do that. But what I can do is I can produce money out of thin air so that Ray and I can travel first class to our next speaking event. So he's got his zone of genius. I've got my zone of genius.
Oh,
I stay in my lane. He stays in his lane. And then we've got the SWAT guy and we got the MMA guy. My point is, I just look at everyone. You've got your zone of genius. I don't need to learn it. I'm just going to ask Vinny to do his part when it's necessary so that I can then do my part when it's necessary.
So you even look at your competitors as, what can I learn from this guy? You know, this guy crushing the eye. What can I learn from this guy? So everybody's there to pull each other along.
Great example of that is I'm buying this 40-acre property out here in 𝗕𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗦. It's a big giant horse ranch that we're going to build these experiential events with.
I put money in.
What's that?
I put money in.
Oh, that's right. You did. So yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Exactly. So you actually get to run events there at our cost, and that's going to be awesome. So I had never started a fund. Now, it was either going to be me trying to figure out how to start a fund on my own, along with 𝗕𝗨𝗦𝗏𝗏, my business partner in that, or we reached out to a friend, 𝗕𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗦𝗏𝗏, who's a beast at real estate investments, who's done hundreds of funds. And he goes, oh, you guys want to start a fund? That's easy. He literally did a text introduction with his attorney. We told his attorney what we wanted to do. The guy had like the 50-page document done in 2 weeks and in our inbox. Now, I could have either tried to figure it out on my own, or I could go to the expert who's got the zone of genius, 𝗕𝗥𝗘𝗦𝗦𝗏𝗏, and he will do that for me. Interestingly enough, 2 weeks after that, Kent texts me and he goes, oh my God, dude, we need a passionate speaker who's going to speak on these things. The guy that I was going to speak decided to cancel last minute. Can you come out here and speak? I'm like, bro, I'm there. My point is, he can tap on me and I can tap on him, but I don't need to learn how to start a fund. I just need to tap on him to connect me to the right people. And when you start thinking that way, not how do I do this, but who can do this for me, you no longer start comparing yourself. You just see everybody as an ally, not a competitor.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful. All right. Well, let's wrap up. What are you looking forward to most in Nashville, and who should come to hear you speak and hear our amazing lineup of guests take the stage? And why do people need to come to Nashville, Tennessee?
Well, I'm going to tell you, even if you're a person who's making great money with online coaching right now, you probably are thinking, man, I'm making great money. I'm making whatever, let's say 60, 70, 80, $100,000 a month. I'm making enough. No, you're not. Look at inflation. You don't know if your parents end up getting dementia like my parents, or at least my mom has, and the cost of the medical care that's attached to that. So whatever money you think you're making is plenty, it's not. You need to 10x that, as Grant Cardone would say, number one. Number two, if you're an online coach, an online nutritionist, even a gym owner, you need to create a secondary, tertiary income stream. You need to be in Nashville, surround yourself with powerful people who are doing the things you want to do so you can time collapse. Get the results they're getting, not in 5 years, but in the next 2 or 3 years. The only way you do that is by being in the room with powerful people. And if you're thinking like, well, what is this going to cost me? I just want to remind you again, what will it cost you if you don't show up to that room?
Beautiful. BEDROS, thank you so much. Where can people find more about your work and follow you on social media? By the way, your social media is amazing. I love when you share your journey. You did a recent post on just like how many years it took to get to where you're at, which really just kind of helps people getting going to keep their journey in perspective. So thank you for those posts.
My pleasure, man.
You know, yeah. You're bringing people with you. I love it. Like, it's not, look at me, the hero. You've done an amazing job being the guide, you know, by our side, if you will, bringing people along and bringing people up that stairwell, if you will, to their breakthrough. So thank you so much. How can people follow you on social media and get in tune with your world and all the exciting stuff you got going on?
Best place to find me on social media and follow me and actually connect with me is on Instagram at BEDROS KEUILIAN.
Amazing. And you got amazing events coming up. You got the project, you got Squire program, all sorts of stuff. So guys, check out what BEDROS has got going. If you want to actually experience some of these amazing events, transformative, grueling events, if I'm correct.
they are grueling, but they are life-changing for sure.
Absolutely. Then he's your man. You want to definitely check that out. So start following him. And thank you so much. Make sure you guys follow this. Make sure you guys save this podcast, share this podcast, and we'll see you guys all next time. Ciao, ciao.